Welcome to the Marketing Report. My name is Russell Pearson, and this is episode number 13. The Marketing Report is a podcast for passionate yet frustrated business owners that are looking for a competitive edge. And today, what I would like to talk about is what happens once all that excitement and all the adrenaline of the new year has started to fade away. You might have created a New Year's resolution, you might have created a New Year's theme, but what happens in a month's time, 2 months' time, 3 months' time, when the importance of that or the inspiration of that tends to fade away? I know for a number of you, and probably those people in the exercise column, a lot of that inspiration has already left the building. But I'm not just talking about 1, 2, 3 months' time. I'm talking about the 10-month point, the 11-month point. What are you going to have in place that you can put in place now that will actually have you in good stead and keep the energy up for the year as you drive out the calendar year? So it's going to be all around one word. One word I want to talk about today, which is catalysts. Catalysts are things that I like to put in place with any business I'm working with, and certainly within my own business as well. But what is a catalyst? So a catalyst really comes from a scientific background, not my scientific background because I'm not a scientist, but scientific language, let's say, which is a substance that causes or speeds up a reaction. And so within our world, it's going to be a person or a thing that precedes an event. So something that we can do, or something that we can be or say or create a date on publicly that will then drive a whole bunch of actions that we will then do throughout the year. So the most classic example of what a catalyst is in my world when it comes to marketing and sales would be a live event. So we might say for any type of business, but we might put in 3 live events throughout the year. Now, by declaring those live events and declaring dates around those live events, there is a whole bunch of things that we need to do to make that event a success. And each of the things that we do around making that event a success are really good for our business. So what are the things that it includes? It includes making sure we communicate with our customers. It also means making sure that we communicate an effective message, which means we have to get very clear about what messages are going to engage them to come to our event, which are also really good practice for actually what are the messages that are going to engage them to buy from us. It's then going to make us work on the content, which either means we're engaging people from our own industry, we're actually talking with people within our industry and maybe bringing them in to be speakers for our event. Which is broadening our perspective on things. We're not just within our own bubble. We're actually talking to other thought leaders and experts out there. We need to create content for the event. So we're actually refining the messaging that we're actually doing. We're going to be in contact with our customers again when we actually follow up on the event. And then finally, when we actually get them to the venue, or it could be a digital live event, wherever it might be, but we're bringing them there. We have a conversation with them. And having a conversation with our customers is one of the best things that we can be doing around marketing and sales. So live events are a great and the ultimate catalyst when it comes to an event. But another one, it would be product launches. How can we declare a product that we're going to launch? And ideally, I think that declaring a catalyst is so much better than actually having one. So for instance, you might have a product that you're going to launch and you're keeping it a secret. Now, by keeping it a secret, it means that there's no pressure on you to deliver. Now, you might say, well, that means that you don't have the pressure to deliver a rubbish product and that you're getting it all very perfect and all very right before you go and launch that. But this is where procrastination lives. This is where we often work up a project to maybe 90%. And we never ever launch it, which means it never sees the light of day and it never helps the people we created it to help in the first place. So if you are looking to do a product launch, my suggestion would be to actually declare that you will be launching something. You don't even have to say what it is that you're going to be launching, but you just say that on this date, we're going to have an announcement, a special announcement around a new product that we think is going to be something you're going to love. So creating that catalyst is then going to actually drive you to your development and the development of that product. It's also going to drive the messaging around that product and every other thing that you're going to need to engage, again, your customer base. It also creates a moment in time that your customer base or the people you're trying to engage with are going to be showing some interest because you've created a bit of a mystery for them, and they're going to go, all right, well, what was that thing that you were going to release? Because you didn't tell me. So I'm interested just for a split second for you to be, for you to have my ear and actually have that opportunity to get through to me. So it means you have to work on your engagement, whether that be communication, whether it be hooks, messaging, stories, whatever it might be. But all these things are fantastic for getting better, and it's better practice within your marketing, sales, and ultimately in keeping customers on top of all that. Now, another area where catalysts are brilliant are newsletters. Now, a lot of people say that the email newsletter is dead. It's not dead. Boring, dull, mundane newsletters are dead. Newsletters that are a curation of content that everyone has already seen are dead. And while I say they're dead, people are still doing them. They're just not working. It's the equivalent of actually getting a bill that you know, or statements, even more so. I get a bank statement from the bank, and I'm not going to look at it unless there's something very specific I need in it. It's like, oh yes, it's that again. I'm expecting that again. Yes, I'll put it to the side or potentially put it into the rubbish. Of course, I don't put my bank statements in the rubbish, or do I? So the boring newsletters are all dead, but the exciting, engaging, and surprising newsletters are not. So if you can create, whether it be a digital newsletter every quarter, every month, that has relevant content for the people you're trying to engage, ultimately your customers in most of the cases. It's going to have something that is engaging, entertaining, or educational in there as well. And it's going to be something that ideally would be surprising. Then it's something that they're going to open and look for. And potentially the best examples of these are when they are expecting or hanging out to actually see what you have for them this month. Now, another way that you can look at newsletters is to say, all right, well, we've got plenty of digital stuff going on. Instead of doing a digital newsletter this year, we're going to change it up. We're going to actually take all that great content. So we're still going to have a catalyst. We're still going to have a newsletter, but we're going to take all that great content off the digital newsletter. We're going to put it onto an A3 sheet and style it up very nicely and have all our branding in there and our calls to action, but it's still going to be entertaining, educational, and engaging. And we're going to put it on an A3 sheet, we're going to fold it in half, and we're going to mail that 4-page newsletter out to our customers. Now, I've done this in the past and even recently with my customers and also myself, and it works a treat. It's the only piece of useful mail that most of my business customers will receive this month. Otherwise, it's bills and statements and junk mail. This is not junk mail because it has useful, engaging, and entertaining content inside. And if you do it consistently, whether it be a year, whether it be 2 years, what you'll find is that people give you amazing feedback that they are hanging out to get it every month, because it's something tangible that they can have in their hand that you've created for them. Now, you've done exactly the same amount of work as if you did it digitally. It costs you a tiny little bit more in postage, but it's the same amount of work that you would do to actually put the newsletter together, but it's got so much more value for the person who is holding it in their hand. It's a tangible item, it's a tangible product or information product. So that's another way that you can look at Catalyst for the coming year. So the question for you is, what is that going to look like? Are you going to be looking at product launches? Are you going to be looking at events? Are you going to be looking at communication catalysts like your email communication? Now, in my own world, it's programs. So recently I've put together the Forge, which is our engagement program for helping people take a single powerful step each week to lead towards their business goals. So we've put that together, and by me saying it out publicly that I am putting it together, I have to deliver. So saying these things out publicly or making a promise is a great way of making sure that you're more likely to deliver on them. Now, at the end of the day, not everything's going to work. Not everyone's going to want what you put out there. You might put out the opportunity for an event and people aren't interested in it. It's not just because people are busy, it's because your event wasn't engaging enough. Please understand that. People still go to concerts, they still go to events, and they still go to business events. If people don't come, it's because you haven't either made it relevant enough, you haven't made it engaging enough, or you haven't made it interesting enough for them to engage with. So within the program that I've put together with the Forge, I've announced a pilot. And in fact, the pilot program for the Forge launches this week. And so what has that meant? That has meant I've had to do a whole series of things leading up to that launch. Those things include putting some content together, or hooks, messages, and stories to make sure that people understand what it is that I'm trying to create. Now, I haven't gone out of my way to actually spend a lot of time doing that. I've just looked at the pointy end and gone, what elements do I need to create to get to that step, which is to announce it. So that's what I did. I announced it. Then I've needed to reach out to people who I think are interested in something like getting on board the pilot. I've done that and engage those people to come work with us through the pilot program, when they're going to be giving me feedback and making this the best program that the Forge can possibly be. But ideally, in reaching out to those people, that's another positive thing for my business, because I'm now reaching out to people who are potential customers or colleagues of mine, and I'm engaging a broader perspective in the work that I'm doing. Now, because it's this week, I've then invited the people who are going to be part of it. They're all opting in, and then I need to say, all right, well, what are the steps between now and the live session that I'm having on Friday? Well, that means that I need to get the planning sheet out to these people. Now, I've already done a lot of that work, but I had to finalize it and just clean it up a little bit and then get it out to them so that they've got their plan already in place prior to the live session. So they receive that. Now, what happens when I'm doing that? Where I go, all right, well, what else do they need prior to the live session? Well, they need their focus sheet. So I've had to finalize the focus sheet, make sure that is in an email sequence that's now going out to them and drip feeding them up to the live event, which happens every single week. And in that live event, they're going to get very, very clear about what is the one action that's going to powerfully drive them towards their business goals within the next 7 days. And that's what we're going to do each week. So there's education in that live session where I get a little bit of inspiration and things that we can look at differently and how we can apply it within different business models. And then we're actually going to create a very, very tiny little action that we're going to focus on throughout the week. But I need to have all those things in place. So it's great for engaging people. It's great for me getting very clear about my own messaging. And in fact, it's made me realize that there are certain gaps within the things that I've done, which I've now filled in, which are going to make the program itself far more powerful. Now, if I'd waited to get everything 100% right before launching the Forge, then I would probably never do it. So what I'm suggesting is some of these catalysts you might not be ready for. You might not have all the answers about how you're going to put an event on, whether you're going to put a newsletter out for the first time or a new product or service you're going to launch. You might not have the answers for that, but you can define a date and you can create a promise as to you're going to do something. And then as you lead up to it, you'll have to have times where you communicate what that something will start to look like so that you can engage people to be part of it. So that's what I'm doing, but what are you going to be doing? Another customer of mine is looking to engage more people from a recruitment point of view. They're actually recruiting staff into their business, which is actually a marketing and sales function. So you can create events for not just your clients, but you can also create events for your industry, for people who are up and coming within their career space within your industry, creating community, which you can then draw from to help your business in the future. Now, that could be a community of suppliers that would then help your business. It could be a community of experts who you would ideally employ from, and because you're controlling the conversation in that industry, you can start to actually draw them into your business, and becomes a lot easier to identify great talent who you can then employ. So within your own business, is it going to be marketing? Is it going to be sales? Is it going to be creating new product? Is it going to be keeping new customers? Is it going to be employing new people or engaging people to work with you? What's the result of the catalyst you're going to be putting in place, and what catalyst will you put in place? So my suggestion is to diarize it, to look at your 12-month calendar and say, this is when the catalysts are going to hit. And then look very clearly about what are the things that we're going to need to do to launch that catalyst. So let's say it's an event. We can't say we're going to have an event, a live event, to an audience which we don't have yet in a month's time. It's possible, but very unlikely that within 4 weeks we can create something out of nothing. So I would suggest that you allow enough planning time so that you go, all right, well, we're going to have an event in March. All right, well, if we're going to have an event in March, what are the things that we're going to need to do to lead up to that, and be very realistic about it? We're going to need to launch tickets at least a month before the actual event itself, so we can do follow-up, so we can ensure we've got enough bums on seats. How are we going to engage an audience prior to actually releasing those tickets so that they're already interested in what we're doing, and when we release the tickets, they're going to say yes. So there's a whole bunch of things you can consider, and so write a list once you've defined your catalysts of these are all the little things, all the little tactics, and all the little checklist items that we need to put in place that are going to drive that event, that catalyst, whatever it might be. And what you'll find is a lot of the things on the checklist are going to be things you're going to want to do for your business, whether it's engaging with people you want to hire, engaging with new prospects, engaging with existing prospects, and making them feel loved. These are things that we want to do from a business point of view, from a customer service point of view, and by creating catalysts, they'll drive us to do them on autopilot. So I'm very passionate about this. I love catalysts in a business, and I hope that if you haven't already put these catalysts in place for your own business, that once you do put them in place, you'll find that you're very passionate about them as well. So I invite you to stay passionate, because I want this podcast to be something that helps you stay engaged. I want you to stay energetic. I want you to feel that if there's a moment in time when you're starting to wane or you're starting to lose energy, you can use these podcasts as a way of winding yourself back up, because I've got enough passion for everybody, I can tell you that. So stay passionate, and I will catch you on the next one. Make sure to visit russellpearson.com for more podcast episodes, videos, and more. russellpearson.com.